Welcome back to Walsall Fan TV. We've got a special guest today, Walsall Fan TV Insights. Quite a special fan. Been following Walsall for a long time. Steve Jenkins. I'm sure you might recognise him. Music mogul. Over 260 discs, platinum, double platinum, gold, silver. So you've sort of done okay, haven't you?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like everybody else's life. It has highs and it has lows. So
the joy and the pain, that's it.
Yeah, exactly. It was an up and down road ride. But when you look back on it and you see all the hit records, you go, yeah, you did all right, son.
Yeah, it's one of those, I think, when you're right in the middle of it, you're coping with the struggle, aren't you?
Yeah,
and,
you are.
It's one of those, you like, people say, oh, when did you realise you'd made it? And it's like, oh, about 20 years after.
Yeah, well, I mean, I find, looking back on it now, there's some great moments where I'm just driving somewhere and a record comes on the radio that maybe I made 30 years ago, and all of a sudden conversations and things that happened with that record, come back into your mind, and you're driving along in a totally different world, 30 years ago. So I enjoy it more now, I think, than I did when it was happening. Because when it's happening, you're having a hit record, and all you're worried about is finding the next hit record, or working on the follow-up board. There was never any break, really.
No.
I always think as well that, I should have enjoyed it more when it was happening. But I was busy.
When you're busy, yeah.
I was busy,
I know Walsall was a bit of a break for you. Now, yourself and Pete, yourself and Pete Waterman had come down to the game, and people would see sort of successful people like yourselves and say, oh, why don't you buy the club? And that sort of thing. But I think, as we talked previously, when you're so busy in that world, the football is a relief. Even though, obviously, the joy and the pain, the stresses of watching it, but it is. Yeah. It's a break from a very busy environment, isn't it?
It was for me and Pete, because we did that. It was like 10 or 12 seasons we were going. We were getting to between 30 and 38 matches a season. One season it would be 36 matches, another season it would be 32 matches, and we did that for 10 or 12 years. And it was it was a total break for us. So, the phones were always going, everybody was at us all the time because, hit records were so valuable in those days. And then, we'd drive to the ground, and obviously we were driving from London most of the time. So we'd do business in the car, and play different things and be working in the car. But then as soon as we got to the ground, we weren't thinking about anything but...
It's nice to have that break.
But the boys and winning.
Well, it's funny, you see so many people at football matches, they sort of have a crazy rant and screaming at the referee. And some of these people are sort of high up business people, and it's a release. Like
it is a release.
My lad Stephen, he's a second year apprentice, and he's sort of in a business world now. But when he gets to the football, it's his chance to
exactly.
Go crazy and sort of
I think
let it loose. It's a great release.
I mean, me and Pete always celebrated the goals with gusto. But we were a little more quieter in the stands, really, when we were watching the game. I mean, we weren't beyond giving it a good yell every now and again, but we sort of had to have a little bit of dignity, because we knew lots of people were, knew we were there and watching us, and so us screaming and shouting didn't...
You can't swear at the ref the same as perhaps I could.
No,
perhaps.
Exactly. I think I had not been known, and Pete had not been known or anything. We could have gone with a little more gusto than we did. But we loved it. We still talk about it. Even now, I mean, I spoke to Pete probably 3 or 4 days ago, and he was, and we went to the, they put the plaque, the Stock Aitken Waterman plaque, on the studio that we worked in between 1983 and 1994.
Yeah.
And they put the blue plaque there. So we were there with the radio and the TV and the press and everything, and they're doing the plaque. And all he's talking about is 12 points clear, mate.
And that's this season has been absolutely crazy, hasn't it?
Well,
obviously the form of Nathan Lowe has helped, but I mean, from my point of view, picking a man of the match has been like sort of, well, they've all been man of the match. They've all been playing so well. But recently, it's I think part of it, Nathan Lowe going has had an effect. But it seemed a lot of the energy that was keeping us going, when we lost a game, it was sort of a little bit of that sort of momentum, and people step back. Like, you know what, it's just like yourself. You're so busy getting through different things. You get home, relax, and it's like, and you sleep. And it's when you take your foot off the gas a little bit, you realise how tired you are. And Walsall have got a lot of young players.
Well, yeah, and I think, you know, the first half of the season, the way they played, just unbelievable. You know, the young, like Jealous, you know, comes out of playing for Tamworth, and he plays a full-blown half-season at full pelt.
Yeah.
You can understand that he may have come off the pace just a little bit. I mean, I would think he'd come back pretty quickly. Good player.
Yeah.
I mean, what a good player. But I think after 7 seasons or whatever it is in Division 2, we actually deserve this season.
Yeah, I don't think deserve is sort of you can't sort of put a ballot in and say, yeah, I think, can you put us up for promotion this year?
Yeah, exactly. No, as supporters, we deserve it. I think there's of the joy and pain. There's been a lot of pain.
Yeah.
But this is certainly joyous.
Yeah, I was talking to Gabriel Sutton, and I said, "Oh, we've had 6 years of pain. We deserve some joy." And he says, "Only 6." That's a bit cheeky of him, but I mean, it's one of them. With the midfield, with having Jack Earing and George Hall coming on to maintain the intensity and give rest to the likes of Lakin and Jealous. With the couple of injuries there, we've not now got that. So the batteries are sort of wearing out on Jealous and particularly Barrett, I think.
Yeah, I was talking to a Birmingham City supporter last night, actually. I was up here last night and I was out and I was talking to a Birmingham City supporter, and he was saying to me that Alfie Chang.
We haven't seen much of him yet.
No, but he said to me what a good player Alfie Chang is. And so I'm expecting, you know, him to fulfil probably George Hall's role.
Well, that's it. George Hall probably, they reckon he's going to be back March, but the thing is, the way...
He's going to have to get fit though, isn't he?
Yeah, we can't wait till March to start winning again. It'll all be over.
We're going to be winning tonight, mate.
We're going to be winning tonight. Gillingham tonight.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be winning tonight.
Gillingham on poor form. On the last 4 games, they've actually got better form than us. But
well, you know, I'm not too... I mean, maybe my eyes are red, you know, but I'm not too down about the situation at the moment. Because in those... I know we've lost 3 or 4 games, and the game that we drew, we were looking like we were going to lose.
Salford,
so,
that was game over really, and then we came the bag, wasn't it?
You look at it and you think that could have been 4 defeats on the bounce. But I actually didn't think, maybe we played with a little less energy. But I didn't think we were terrible. You know, we weren't playing badly.
No.
It just, things didn't go our way. I mean, even on Saturday at Colchester, their first goal, that was a minger, wasn't it? That was just a little bouncing around and a toe poke. It was a minger. The second goal, fair play, son. You know, when the lad cut in and put it in the top corner, well, fair play. But I would have thought, you know, with my red eyes, I would have thought a draw was a good a good score that day.
I think with Onura Edwards, the winger, he'd really sort of had Oshie all the way through the game, hadn't he? And Walsall hadn't dealt with that and hadn't been able to change it to affect that.
I think teams have seen the way we play, and there are gaps, you know, in front of the 2 wide centre halves and the wing backs. There is a gap there, you know, but that's because our wing backs play so high up the pitch. There's always going to be a gap there, and it's a question of getting back, you know. So, and I thought Colchester probably exploited that pretty well.
Yeah, I think It's I think it's just the energy levels have dropped a little bit. I think.
Yeah,
So I think it's time to freshen it up. Evan Weir's going to be in tonight.
Yeah, I would think so.
Because Taylor Allen's suspended. Chang, is he fit? Is he fit to come in? But I think off the bench would probably be the.
Oh, I don't think he'll get it. I don't think he'll get a start.
No.
I think he'll definitely. If he's going to come on, he's going to come on off the bench.
Yeah.
You know, to keep the momentum up and everything. I'm pretty certain they'll go again with Jealous and Leighton.
Yeah, I think definitely. Ethan Wheatley. That's an interesting one, an undoubted talent.
Oh, the kid can play.
But I mean, it's a big transition for him. It just depends how well he's done in training, how he's responded to getting subbed off against Salford and missing out in the squad on Saturday.
Don't the Man U fans really like him? They didn't want him to go out on that.
They thought he should be on. They thought he should be getting minutes in the first team.
Yeah, I mean, and you can see the way he controls it and the way he moves. The kid can play.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, when you come from Premier League 2 and then you're going into Division 2, that's a jump up.
It's a big physical change.
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's a physical challenge, and so I think with him, you know, he needs 3 or 4 games to be able to find his feet.
Yeah.
Now, you could say we don't have the time for that, but, you know, I think...
He needs minutes, I think.
Yeah, he needs minutes, and he's going to get them.
Yeah.
He's going to get them, and I would expect him to score a couple of goals for us at some point.
I think if he's had a couple of chances in the games he's been in, once he's got his first goal, I think he'll fly, a bit like Nathan Lowe, really.
Well, I think Nathan Lowe, you know, that first game he had where he got 2 goals.
That was against Huddersfield. First half, he was like Bambi on ice, couldn't stand up.
Yeah.
Second half, bam bam, and it's
fantastic.
It's good.
And to do that after missing a penalty, you know, was outstanding. That kid's outstanding, though.
Yeah.
You know,
he's definitely got a good future, I think.
I was talking to somebody the other day, and obviously I've been watching Walsall for 60 years or more. And I said to him, I ain't seen a kid like him since Alan Clark.
Yeah.
You know, when Alan Clark got in the first team, I was a kid myself, you know, but when Alan Clark you could tell he was a cut above, you know, even as an 18-year-old getting in the first team. And that kid, as an 18-year-old, just turning 19.
Yeah.
What a talent.
When you first started sporting Walsall, I think your granddad took you to your first game, didn't they? And your dad took you.
Harry Jenkins.
Harry Jenkins.
Yeah, he had 2 seats in the stand at Fellas Park, and so he'd go with his mates and everything. And then I was, you know, the end of 7, beginning of 8, somewhere around that October period, and. Right, young man, it's time for you to go and see Walsall.
Yeah, find out what pain's like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you know, I went to the first game with my granddad, and my father was manager of the Co-op shoe shop. You know, the big one that used to be in Bridge Street.
Yeah.
And so he could never go on a Saturday, so we always used to go to all the Tuesday matches and stand under the cowshed. He liked to be on the halfway line underneath the cowshed, so he got both sides of it, you know. And so it was always a Tuesday, and the reserves used to play on Tuesday night at that time because they'd pull 1,000 people or 1,500 people, you know. So we'd always go, whether it was the reserves or the first team, on a Tuesday night, and then. When my parents considered I was old enough to go on my own, which was probably when I was about 10, my dad had come home from work at lunchtime, have his lunch, pick me up, drive me to the ground, drop me off, and then go back to work. And then I'd walk back down the Wednesbury Road, you know, to get the bus.
Classic line. They don't sing that so often, do they?
No, they don't. No.
Why is that?
I don't know. I miss it. You know.
Maybe I should start it off. Let's have that against Gillingham tonight.
Yeah.
Sing along for that.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I've been going all my life, and then, you know, as my grandfather and my father passed on, you know, then my sister came for a lot, you know, so the whole family really has been Walsall all our lives.
Yeah. Best memories for the match?
For any matches?
Yeah. What's sort of your best period did you enjoy?
I think the game that stands out to me is when we went to the Millennium Stadium and we beat Reading.
Yeah.
You know, so that game, I guess, just because of the occasion and because we were at, you know, although it wasn't Wembley, we were at the Millennium Stadium, and then winning, you know, Darren Byfield's goal and
to come from behind.
Yeah, exactly. So that kind of game is a standout one. The cup run in 83, 84.
With Rotherham and Liverpool, of course.
Yeah, and Arsenal.
Yeah.
So that was, you know, I mean, I was out of when we played Arsenal, because it was down in London. So a couple of my mates went with me from that were working in the record business, you know, at London, and I was completely out of control. When Reece scored and Ali Brown, you know. So when we won that game, I was escorted from the ground. I was a bit too loud with a lot of disappointed Arsenal supporters. And so my mates were like, "Ooh, get him out." And we celebrated at the Holiday Inn that night in Swiss Cottage. So, but that whole cup run, you know, because what a team that was.
So cup runs and that sort of stuff, the old Alan Buckley era with sort of Minnie Priest, Gary Childs and Craig Shakespeare, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
All that era. About the just like praying like Brazil. It's just like watching Brazil. Do you remember that era? When we got sort of Pedro Matias, Zigor Arnaldi, and George Leitao, of course. Yeah. That was sort of
well, they were good players.
Magical time.
They were good players. I mean, you know, I've loved it all. You know, and you know, obviously a lot of my pal, Chris Marsh, big pal of mine for all those years. You know, and Mark Rees. I mean, I knew Mark Rees when he was in the youth team, so long before he went on to make the 250 appearances or whatever he made. You know, so they were a couple of my big mates. But Minnie Priest, you know, I knew Minnie. I went to Cambridge when he was at Cambridge. I was at the Luton Cup final that he played in because he got me tickets and everything, you know. So a lot of the boys all over the years were good friends of mine, you know. Yeah. They liked my music side and I liked their football side.
Well, that's got a nice marriage, isn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Nice marriage.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, I'd obviously get some of the lads' tickets, you know, when I had bands on tour,
concerts and that sort of stuff.
Exactly.
Loving it.
And so we all looked after each other during all those years, you know.
Yeah, I think I've had a couple of chats with former players about sort of what happens when the music stops, when the playing stops and the cheering stops. Likes of Andy Rammell and Darren Rack and that sort of thing. What's it been like for you, where music-wise, when things have sort of slowed down for you now? How does that feel?
Well, I mean, I sort of, if you call it retired, you know, I kind of retired in stages.
Yeah, because you went to consultancy, didn't you? After
I did some, you know, after Jive Records, I was at BMG for a couple of years. And then Pete Waterman and I had a label, which was another couple of years.
Yeah.
So I was coming off that massive Britney Spears, Backstreet Boys, Justin Timberlake boom.
I've got it here. Let's just give you a quick summary for people who are not aware. DJ in 1970. I used to DJ, by the way.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I've done quite a bit of DJing in my time. I didn't sort of progress like you have, obviously. Regional promotions manager in 1973. In Impulse Records, that created your own business then. In 1983. Tell us a bit about that, how that came about.
Well, I'd found, because I was working for record labels really. You know, I worked for Nems and the Media and Chrysalis and MCA and Mountain Records all over a period of 7 or 8 years. And that I learnt the business then. And it was then that the business was moving forward and it was more aggressive and more marketing based.
Yeah.
And so and the way they collated the chart with the independent record stores. So I formed a company that basically had reps on the road. We started with about 12 reps, but it got to about 25 further down the line. And they serviced the record stores. So what they do is they give free copies of a certain record to the record store, and they put up posters, and any record we were working, you'd pull them to the front of the shelves.
Yeah,
you know,
that's it,
so
yeah.
and so we developed great relationships with record dealers, and we were hired
Yeah.
by the record labels to work their records.
Okay.
So Impulse went from this small little idea to this massive marketing company. It became the #1 marketing company in the country, you know,
Yeah.
with regards to records. And that's what made me famous, really, you know.
But I mean, when you actually started that, because you're going from a full-time position effectively to working for yourself,
Yeah.
how big a decision was that to sort of make that jump that chasm sort of thing, to step into that?
Well, there's two things really. One, I think I got fired by a record label.
That always helps.
So
That always helps.
It wasn't like it was either or, you know. And I think I went to America at that time with a band, and so I was out of the business for about 6 or 8 months, but with a band, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And
What was the band there?
The band's was called Eat at Joe's. And
Eat at Joe's, okay.
we had one record that just scraped the 75, you know, and got a lot of airplay, and it looked good for a little while. Anyway, so I was kind of out of it, and when I was in America, I'd had this idea about this company which would eventually become Impulse, and I was sitting in Redondo Beach, which sounds pretty flash, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I was in Redondo Beach, and I'm sitting there, and I'm waiting for a couple of the band to come and meet me. And it's coming close to the end of the trip. You know, we're beginning to get ready to come back to England. And I remember sitting there, and they were a couple of hours late. So I was just sitting there on my own, you know, for a couple of hours. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go back and start that company. I need to go and get some finance to start the company and do it and do all that, but that's what I'm going to do. And I came back, and you know, probably it took me 3 or 4 months to get the finance, and probably 6 months by the time the company started.
What was your mum and dad saying at this point?
Well, my father had passed at that time,
Got you, okay.
but my mom was pretty tough, you know, and she didn't. I mean, even when I was a DJ, she was saying to me,
"Can you get a proper job?"
Hang on a second. So you play these records in a nightclub, and they give you money for playing records. How does that work? You know, so she was never enamoured by, you know, the music side of things. In fact, she gave me stick all of my life, wanting me to get a proper job. I mean, I understand it. Can you get?
I've heard that before.
Can you get a proper job? Can you get married? Can you have kids? Can you do things properly? And can you stop all this fly-by-night kind of stuff that you're doing with records and everything? And she stayed on my case until I was 36 years old. I mean, she didn't back off.
No.
She was, for God's sake, come back home, come back to the Midlands, and you know.
When did the penny drop with her that you'd made it good?
I was invited because I'd done Childline, you know, Childline.
Yeah.
So I developed Childline with Esther Ransom.
Yeah.
And because of that, I was invited to have afternoon tea with John Major at number 10 Downing Street. Because they wanted to say thank you for doing it and all that. And I also think they wanted to see if I was interested in being in politics, which I wasn't.
No, keep out of the way of that.
So anyway, I got a card. It comes through the post, a card, you know, all fancy kind of writing and everything. You know, John Major requests the pleasure. John Major and Norma, his wife, requests the pleasure of Steve Jenkins for afternoon tea at number 10 Downing Street. So anyway, I drove home on a Friday night, because I'm obviously going to the game on a Saturday. Drive home on a Friday night, go into my mum's, got the card, I go, she's sitting in her chair, I put it on the side of the chair and I go, have a look at that, Mum, see what you think of that. So she picks it up and she looks at it and she goes, where did you get that printed?
So she still didn't.
No, but I said to her, hey, listen, you know, on this day,
keeping you grounded.
Yeah, on this day, I'm going to meet the Prime Minister. So if you've got a question for the Prime Minister, I'm the boy to deliver it. So you just let me know. And I have to say, she never kind of said too much about it, never brought it up, or was talking about it, but it stopped after that.
Yeah.
After that, I never got a lot of stick.
She's never got praise from her or anything.
My mum asked me for all those hit records, and you can imagine, there's a lot of gold discs and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
But there was a lot of hit records that didn't go gold.
Yeah, yeah.
All those hit records. She only ever asked me for one record, which was "I Believe I Can Fly" by R. Kelly.
Oh, a lovely song. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, for me, whenever I hear that record, I think of my mum now, because it's the only one that she ever asked me for. She was actually in Walsall Hospice. She was not far from going. She was in Walsall Hospice, and of course all the nurses, and she must have told them, "Oh, my son, has hit records, and all that kind of stuff." And "I Believe I Can Fly" was number one at the time. And then I went to see her, and she said to me, "Can you get me some of those 'I Believe I Can Fly'? I want to give them to the nurses." I was like, "Yeah, okay. Next week I'll bring you up a box." And so that record has great memories for me for being a great record, but also mainly my mum.
I think that's the thing why we love music so much is because it does sort of bring back memories.
Oh yeah, and it triggers them.
Yeah, and from DJing, I've played the record so many times. Sometimes you lose the immediate impact of the record. But like Madonna, "Material Girl," for example.
Yeah, of course.
I remember where I was working.
Yeah.
When that came out, and they took me down the pub for lunch, and that was on the jukebox. And whenever you hear that record, I think back to Mid-Foam in Smethwick all those years ago.
Yeah.
Sort of amazing times.
Oh well, I love DJing. I mean, I loved it. As a kid, I was 19, I think, when I started at Walsall Community Centre.
Yeah.
That was the first gig I ever had. And everything actually happened pretty quickly from there.
Yeah.
Because I'd got no idea really whether I was any good at it or not. But it came together pretty quickly, and within 7 or 8 months I was in Birmingham, in all the nightclubs.
Yeah.
I graduated pretty quickly.
Did you ever get as high as the Elbow Room? I was at the Elbow.
Oh yeah, I did the Elbow Room. I played there.
I was one of the residents at the Elbow Room for about 10 years.
Yeah.
That's probably more than that, to be honest.
Yeah, the big lad that ran it.
Albert.
That's it.
Yeah,
Albert.
yeah.
Albert. I was always doing lots of different clubs, and it was Albert that called me, and because I'd said to Albert, "Hey, listen, if you need me to fill in any time, if I'm free, I'll do it," because I'd work 7 nights a week. I loved it. And so I only played the Elbow Room maybe 3 or 4 times, but I enjoyed it when I did. I liked the Elbow Room.
It was a crazy place, really. They wanted me to get there for 10, half 10, and there'd be nobody there till about 12 o'clock, and then within about 20 minutes it was full.
Well, everybody would go to the pub first, wouldn't they?
And
then they'd finish at the pub and then make their way to the Elbow Room, or go to another club first and then go to the Elbow Room.
That's it.
I loved it though. I loved it there.
Some interesting connections he had there. It's like there's pictures of all these gangsters and that sort of stuff that was there, and people sort of think, "Oh yeah, I'm sure he's involved in all that." And then when one of the Crays died, he was one of the pallbearers at the funeral.
Yeah.
So that sort of let everybody know that he was.
Well, you don't mess with Albert.
I wouldn't anyway. The size of it.
No.
It's
neither would I.
It's a good one. But sort of when things with Impulse sort of came to an end. How did that happen? And the transition to Jive Records MD, weren't you there?
Yeah. Well, I was having some success with Jive Records, and I've had some success with Billy Ocean and everything. And Billy was a good mate of mine.
Yeah.
And they came to me. Clive Calder, who owned the company, was going from the UK, which was his base, to America, and he was going to try and develop the American company. That was the plan. So they needed someone to run the UK company. So they came to me and they said, "We want you to be, managing director of Jive Records." And I said, Impulse was flying.
Yeah.
I mean, Impulse was absolutely flying. It was a massive company. Nothing moved without Impulse. I'm flying all over the place. Me and Peter, we've got Kylie, Jason, Bananarama, Rick Astley.
Yeah.
You know, we've got hit records wall to wall. I'm having the greatest time of my life, and they go, come and run this record label, which actually was not on its knees, but it was not in great shape.
No.
You know? And I said to him, thanks. but you know, I'm kind of enjoying what I'm doing. And they came out and they went, no, we want you to do it. And I was going, no. And then they worked on me for about 3 or 4 months. And I said to them, okay, I tell you what I'll do. I'll run Jive Records and Impulse, but I'll become chairman of Impulse and get a managing director to run the day-to-day.
Yeah.
And I'll be managing director of Jive. And they said, no, we're not going to do that. And I said, well, there you go, that's okay. I'm back to it. It's no problem, boys, but thanks, you know, thanks for the offer. And then about a month later, they came back and they went, okay. So
you'd obviously got a great reputation that they were pursuing that.
I was having a lot of hits.
Yeah.
You know, and when you have a lot of hit records, people think you've got a magic touch. You know, it's because there's all, you know, it's like football. It's all superstition, and you know, I have to put my right sock on before my left one. You know, there's all sorts of superstitions in the record business because it's, you never know. You know, you make a record, you think it's a hit. It's not. You make a record, you don't think very much of it. Boom, it goes to number one. You know, it's
amazing that
it's
sort
a
of
difficult business.
It's that Midas touch sort of thing. 'Cause you've written a book, haven't you? Your autobiography.
I did.
The future is in the history.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that book is probably 10 or 12 years old now.
How is it? Oh, I think it's fairly recent.
No, it's 10 or 12 years old now, but it's sold all those years. You know, and it's sold all around the world. Sold in America, sold in Australia. I couldn't believe, you know, when I was getting orders from all over the place. But I kind of needed to do that, really. That was part of the ending of you know, I had to kind of download it to a degree into a book.
But what was your process for that? Had you got certain sections that you did and then pulled it all together after? How did you construct it?
I never wanted to write a book.
It's a tough game. As an author myself, it's it's a tough game.
I never wanted to do it, and so a couple of things happened. So when I'd go out to dinner with my wife and everything, and we'd be with people, and they'd ask, you know, because everybody knows what I've done, so they'd ask me questions, and they'd often ask me questions of something I hadn't thought of for a very long time, and I'd tell the story. And so my wife kept saying to me for a long time, for 2 or 3 years, she kept saying to me, you should write a book, you know, these stories. I sit there, I listen to these stories, they're fantastic.
Yeah.
And, you know, people want to hear them, you know, so you should write a book. Anyway, I was like, nah, I don't think so. And then, I don't know if you remember, it was about 2007, 2008, Walsall Council honoured me by having they displayed all my
exhibition at the Walsall Museum.
Yeah, do you remember that?
Yeah.
And so I met a lot of people and did a lot of promotion, and a lot of artists came to do it and all that. And of course I met a lot of the public that were coming in to see it. And every time they used to say to me, oh, if you write a book, I'll buy it. If you write a book, I'll buy it. And so I went through that process. And then I said to Susan, my wife, I said, listen, do you know what I'll do? I'll write 2 or 3 chapters. And after 2 or 3 chapters, 1, I'll find out if I like writing. 2, I'll be able to read something and see whether it's any good or not.
Yeah.
Or does it reach a standard that I'm happy with?
Yeah.
And if it does, I'll carry on. And if it doesn't, well, I won't. Well, that's what I did. I wrote 3 chapters, and me and Susan then reviewed it and went, you should finish it.
Yeah.
And so that then took probably 18 months for me to write it. And
now, a lot of people that have sort of that have done well for themselves would probably get somebody else to write it for them.
I think that's normal. I think that's pretty normal. But for
you,
me,
you wanted to keep the personal touch to it, yeah?
I've always been pretty independent, you know. And if either I can do it or I can't do it, but I'm going to go and give it a go. And then after that, I'll decide, well, no, I'm no good at that, or I am good at it. But, very independent I always worked independently in the music business. I wasn't working for corporations. I joined EMI once.
Yeah.
And I was there for 6 weeks, because I was there for 2 weeks and then given a month's notice. I just couldn't cope with the corporate way of life, and the politics and all that.
I've been there with that.
I can't do it.
A lot of my career I've contracted.
Yeah.
And you're not involved in the day-to-day politics the same, and I preferred that.
No, I'm definitely Clint Eastwood. Go ahead, punk, make my day.
That's it. Oh, crazy stuff. Right then, so we worked with Britney Spears, Backstreet Boys, R. Kelly, NSYNC, Steps, Justin Timberlake. Tell me about the first gold disc you had, which was 1984, Ray Parker Jr., Ghostbusters. Tell me how that happened.
God.
That's testing your memory, isn't it?
That is testing my memory. And from memory, it was on Arista Records. And I'd made a deal with Impulse. Arista had come to me and said to me, we'd like to make a long-term deal with you so that you're our marketing and sales company. So we negotiated a deal, which was, from memory, for some reason, I think it was a 9-month deal. I don't know why I think that, but I think it was a 9-month deal, and we were going to work all the Arista records that they were putting out for 9 months. And, they wanted to drive the company forward and thought Impulse could help them do that. And so Ray Parker, Ghostbusters, was in that batch of records that was coming through, but of course it was from the movie.
Yeah, of course.
So, with that record camp, I got to go to the premiere of the movie, did a lot of things with the staff at Arista Records about it, and I never actually met Ray Parker Jr. No, I came in, he did Top of the Pops, but I wasn't at Top of the Pops that day. But the record, what a great! It's an iconic record.
It's one of those. It's
and it still stands up today.
Yeah.
I
like teasing the in my car. You press the button to call people.
Yeah.
So call Ghostbusters, and it replies who you want to call. So that's my little my little thing.
Yeah, so I remember that record well. I remember the deal with Arista didn't last 9 months. They got upset about something, and it eventually went to a court case. We won the court case because they hired us and then had stopped, so they had to pay anyway. But that was just one of those things, really. The record business is up and down, up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
And maybe we didn't perform well on some record that was important to him. I can't remember now.
Yeah, I think it's one. Sometimes you don't know what's going to fly and what's not.
No, exactly.
And of course, with the Ghostbusters thing, because of the film, it was always going to be very, very key.
Well, the film hit hard.
Yeah.
Everybody went to see Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that dragged the record with it. It wasn't like the record made the movie. It was the movie made the record.
Yeah. The videos became more important, and I think a large part of the success of another one, 1987 gold disc, Jackie Wilson, Reed Petite.
Oh yeah, and you were talking about the plasticine video.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I can't remember the name of the label now, but I do remember the lady that ran it was Anne Plaxton, and I knew her pretty well, and she'd said to me that she'd bought the catalogue of Jackie Wilson, and she was going to reissue some Jackie Wilson records, and she did. She reissued the 3 big ones, and I think we got half a hit, like a top 20 record, with one of the Higher and Higher, maybe.
Higher and Higher was, I think, that was after Reed Petite, wasn't it?
Okay, so I'm trying to remember what the other record was. It'll come to me.
I'm sure people will put it in the comments.
Yeah,
they'll know that.
So the first record came out, got to top 20, and she said to me, I found these people that can make this plasticine video and everything. When you hear that cold, you go, really, Anne? You think that's the way to go? And she was going, no, this is really...
That was awesome,
something
I think
strange
awesome,
about it. Well, I hadn't seen it. She was just talking to me about it, over lunch one day and everything. And then she phoned me up and she said, I've got a cut of this video. Do you want to see it? And I was like, yeah. So I drove down, went and had a look, and you saw the video and once you see that video, you go, oh, this is going to work.
Yeah.
Because the TV's going to just go all over that video.
Yeah,
that's, of course, it did. And then the record, just, a record that was probably, 20 years old, 25 years old?
55, wasn't it? I think something like that.
Yeah, 58 maybe, rock and roll days. And so that record came out 30 years later or something and just catapulted to number one. I mean, one of my favourites, though, Reet Petite. Because of the video and the way it came around. And if you just said to someone at that time, we're going to put out Reet Petite and we're going to have a hit, they'd be going, yeah, of course you are.
And the thing is, it needs some kind of tweak, doesn't it? And the plasticine...
Yeah, the plasticine people were... That was what did it. It was brilliant. She was great, that Annie Plexton.
Yeah.
She had
some good ideas there.
Yeah, she had good ideas.
She sort of made some money on it, I would guess.
Oh, yeah, I would thought so.
Proper money.
Oh, yeah. Well, the number one record at that time, you were earning good money.
Yeah. 1987 also, that was Kylie, I Should Be So Lucky, and that sort of stuff. That's got to put a smile on anybody's face, Kylie Minogue.
Well, the I Should Be So Lucky story with, we were in trouble. So, PWL, Waterman Limited, was in trouble. We'd done well and we'd had hits and all the rest of it, but, it was moving at such a pace. It hadn't been managed totally properly by the people Pete had employed. And so we were in a little bit of trouble. So I Should Be So Lucky was a critical record in that we had to get a hit with I Should Be So Lucky, because then if we got a hit in England with I Should Be So Lucky, we could sell it all around Europe, and the advances that would come in for that record all around Europe would keep us going for another 6 or 9 months. So it was critically important that I Should Be So Lucky was a hit, and it was at Meedem. The record came out in the UK and we were at Meedem, which was where all the record labels got together in the south of France once a year, all the independent labels, and that's where you sell it. So we needed I Should Be So Lucky to be in the top 40 in the week we were at Meedem so that we could sell it and get the money in. That was the plan. So anyway, I'm working the record, and because of impulse, you could kind of work out where the record would be. So Pete phones me up and he goes, what do you think? I went, you're going to be okay. Record's going to come in. It's not going to come in big, but it's going to come in 35, 36. So anyway, they're in one hotel in Meedem in the south of France. I'm in another hotel, and the countdown, they're on the phone listening to the countdown that is coming from the BBC.
When we used to all listen to the top 40.
Yeah, on a Sunday night, So it goes down, it's going 40, 39, 36.
Oh, it's not there.
35,
it's not there.
By the time it gets to 34, right, they're not saying nice things about me. Pete's giving me a right load of stick. And then, anyway, record comes in at 31. That enabled us to sell it. And give us 9 or 12 months breathing space. I walked into the big hotel there, and Waterman was coming down the stairs, and he saw me come through the swinging doors, ran across the room, picked me up, and everything. It was a big... I Should Be So Lucky. The story behind it, it was a critical moment. We were in a little bit of trouble.
Challenges.
Hey. Way it goes. Anyway, and then of course it went on to be I Should Be So Lucky number one, and
amazing,
nobody forgets it.
Amazing success. It's one of those that stays with everybody as well.
Yeah.
A completely different style by '92. The club scene was sort of stepping up more. Two Unlimited, No Limit. That was a gold disc for you as well, wasn't it?
It was. I have to put that one totally down to Pete.
Oh, is that one Pete? That one?
Yeah, Pete found, I don't know quite where, Norway, Sweden, somewhere, not Sweden, Norway, But he found Two Unlimited.
Yeah.
And he found the record and he came over. He went, "Kid, I found this record. Have a listen to this." Anyway, he played me the record and I was like, "It's a tough record, that is." You know, "Are you sure?" And he went, "I tell you, mate, I think it's an absolute smash." And I went, "Well, our deal was always, if he stuck the flag to the mast and went, 'We're going on this,' I always went, 'Okay, we're going on it.'"
Yeah.
And that's what he did with that record. And so we started to work on it. And, you know, it's got a good ear, Pete, you know.
Oh.
I mean, you can't... Pete's ear, golden. Golden.
Actually, on the way over here today, this record came on. Silver disc, 1993. Boom, Shake the Room.
Oh.
Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. Will Smith.
Well, it's a surprise that came on, because I've got to tell you, Boom, Shake the Room, you've picked out a couple of records here. Boom, Shake the Room was a lifesaver.
Yeah.
So...
I didn't know this beforehand, by the way. I've got it on my... in my car, I've got a what's the name, a SD card with my favourite hits on. I've got sort of about 400 songs on it.
Yeah.
And they come on random, and that
yeah,
came
brilliant.
on the way over here. But I'd seen for my research for today that sort of it was one of yours, and
well, Boom, Shake the Room. So I take over Jive Records. I have instant hits. You know, I fired a load of people, brought different people in. All of a sudden, I'm getting hit records, and the Stone Roses come along, and you know, it's all kind of happening. And I'm looking like the genius managing director of the record label. What happens then is 91, 92. When was Boom Shake the Room? 93?
93.
Yeah. So 91, 92, 93. Well, I couldn't get a hit record to save my life. I'm putting records out, they're going nowhere. You know, I'm selling 5,000 here, 10,000 there. You know, I can't get a hit, save me life, you know, all the rest of it. And I'm in New York. And, you know, I've got to say, I'm on dodgy ground. Because, you know, if you run a record label, it's like managing a football team. You know, you can be winning and still get fired.
It's
you know?
like the same with managers, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody about this recently with Matt Sadler. Well, we've lost a few games, and they're going like, "Oh, he's an idiot," sort of thing.
Yeah.
As a manager, when you're winning, you're a genius.
Yeah.
When you're losing, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
And I guess the same with you on that.
Yeah. Well, the national average in the heyday for a managing director of a record label was 18 months.
Yeah.
So you got a year, and if in the second 6 months it didn't look like it was working, they change managing director.
Okay.
Basically like football teams. You know?
Yeah.
You get a season, and then in the second season, if you're not doing too well, you're going to get the youth. Anyway, I'm in New York, and you know, I'm close to getting the oof. You know,
you can feel.
I can feel it. Nobody's saying anything, but I can feel. Maybe
my time might be up.
Yeah, this kid maybe ain't the genius we thought he was. Anyway, so I'm sitting there, and I knew Will Smith really well because I signed him years and years before. Yeah. Girls Ain't Nothing But Trouble to Champion Records, which was my label.
Yeah, yeah.
So I knew Will when he was a 17-year-old. After that, he's had few hits, and he signs to Jive. So when he signs to Jive, we're like, hello mate, you know, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, Will, I'm in the offices in Jive in New York, and Will Smith comes up to me and he says, "Hey, listen," he said, "I've got this record, Boom Shake the Room." He said, "I can't convince the American company about the record, and they won't give me the money for a video." He said, "You couldn't do something for me, could you? Have a go?" And I said, "I can't place the record, Will." Well, I heard Boom Shake the Room, and I thought, my God, that's a smash.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so, and I'm thinking...
So much energy and smiles that come with it.
So in need of a smash hit record, I'm going, this is it. It's Christmas. So anyway, I get the record. Anyway, I go and see Clive, you know, the owner of the company, and I go, "This Boom Shake the Room, you know, he went, "No, it's too pop. It's too pop for America. It's never going to happen in America." I said, "Listen, Clive," this was a stupid thing to say, by the way. I said, "Listen, Clive, I think it's the #1 record." And he went, what, in England? And I went, yeah, I think it's a #1 record. I think we could work this record as #1 record, and you won't give him the money for the video. And if I don't have a video, I can't make the record work, so I've got to have a video. And he said, well, you're going to have to put some money up, out the UK company. I said, yeah, I'll put some money up. And he went, you do believe in it, don't you? And I went, yeah, I completely believe in Boom Shake the Room. And so anyway, long story short, I put the money up. Me and Will are even bigger mates than we've ever been before. Yeah. I get him over, and he comes over and does some interviews and does some gigs and everything. Boom Shake the Room. I mean, once Boom Shake the Room got going, it went like a rocket ship. Yeah. Straight to #1.
It's like a dance floor filler. You can put that in anywhere.
Anywhere.
And people
anywhere. I couldn't believe it that the US company couldn't get their head around it. But the music in America at that time was very hardcore rap.
But the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was very popular then.
It was.
So
I couldn't get it.
But a connection with him.
You should have been there, mate.
I should have
given me a hand.
I should have been. Gold, platinum, and silver. One for Sorrow, Tragedy, and Last Thing on My Mind, Steps.
Yeah.
That was 1998.
Yeah.
Steps, the crazy bunch. Steps. What did you make of them?
Steps came around because of 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
So somebody, Tim Byrne, who was their manager, sent a tape in to my general manager, Tina Wisby. She listened to it and brought it up to me, and she went, 5, 6, 7, 8. She said, there's all that country line dancing going on and everything.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
You fancy having a go with this? And so I said to her, listen, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll sign the band, but I'm only going to sign them for a single, a second single, and an album. I'm not gonna give them, a 5-album deal or do anything. I'm just going to do a lightweight deal with it and see how we go. And you want to do it, let's do it. So anyway, I phoned up Pete and I went, Pete, I got this record, right? And it's good, but it ain't right. I need you to put some violins on it and make it a bit more country than it is, but keep the disco beat underneath, the dance beat underneath. And so Pete went away and did that. We worked that record hard. And in fact, that record only got to number 14. Seems like it was bigger, but it only got to number 14. But it stayed on the chart for so long, it sold 200,000 records and became a silver record,
Yeah.
So I then knew that the group had got a big base. I knew whatever record I put out next, I would sell 30 or 40,000 in the first week, and I'd be around the top 10.
Yeah.
So then I went to Pete and went, hey, Pete,
what you got?
What you got, son? We need one to do this. So he did Last Thing on My Mind.
Yeah.
But the thing that broke Steps wide open was One for Sorrow.
Yeah.
When One for Sorrow came along.
Yeah.
That was the record that...
But then Tragedy went even more, didn't it?
Well, Tragedy, that was some records are a mistake, almost. And with Tragedy, what had happened there is a company had come to me and they'd made a deal with the Bee Gees. And the Bee Gees had allowed them to cover all their records, or their, pop groups, covering their records. And the album was, whatever money they made from the album went to a certain charity. I can't remember what the charity was. So Steps are big at the time. So they come to me and they say, we want Steps to do a Bee Gees record. So I phoned up Pete and I went, I've got this. I'm not sure about it now. And he said, they should do Tragedy. I said, do you want to go down and talk to him? And he went, yeah, I'll go down. So anyway, he goes down and he talks to him and he says, we're only going to do it if we can do Tragedy. And they go, yeah. Because they want Steps on the album because they think that'll sell it.
Yeah, yeah.
So basically that deal got done, but we said to him, you can't have the singles rights. The singles rights are ours.
Yeah.
But you can put it on the album, and even if we put it out as a single and we sell loads of albums, you keep all the money for that, but the single is ours.
Yeah.
That's the only way we're doing the deal. And so that's what happened. So anyway, Tragedy was actually a double A-sided record. There was a Christmas record on the other side, a sort of ballad for Christmas. So we worked the ballad for Christmas, running up to Christmas.
Yeah.
It gets to number 2 and sticks at number 2 all over Christmas.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, I should know
Yeah,
that now.
and then I flipped it. As soon as it come to January, I flipped it and made a second video, which was, you know, outrageous at the time to make 2 videos for one single. They thought I was mad, you know, but anyway, I flipped it, put the other video out, and boom, and then it stuck at number 1 for I don't know how long.
That's it. All the head,
Yeah, that's
the,
it.
the dancing and that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So Tragedy. In fact, the 2, Baby One More Time is the biggest record I ever had, and Tragedy is the second biggest record for single sales, not albums or anything, just single sales.
I was going to come to that next, actually. 1999, Britney, Hit Me Baby One More Time.
Yeah.
Great video again. So tell me about what happened with Britney then.
Well, I think you work all your life to try and get the perfect record. And of all those records that I was involved in for all those years, the most perfect record was Baby One More Time. So we had the song Baby One More Time for probably a couple of years before we found Britney.
Okay.
Because we knew Baby One More Time was a hit song. We knew it was. But if you put
How did you know that was going to be a hit song?
Well, you just know.
You just know.
Yeah, you know, when you've been doing it a long time, you hear something, you go, that's a hit. No matter which way that comes, that's a hit.
Yeah.
But we knew if we put an artist on that hit record, it would be so big, so quickly, that really it'd fry your brain, you know. So you had to have an artist that could cope with it. And it took us 2 years to find Britney, you know. And Britney, as a 14-year-old, had the eye of the tiger.
Yeah.
I mean, that girl wanted to do it no matter what, you know. And also, she was pretty beautiful.
Yeah.
So the thing about that record is Britney is 100% right. You know, beautiful girl, good at talking, you know, nice person, great dancer, but just great dancer.
Yeah.
You know, she could outdance the pros.
Yeah.
You know, so Britney was 100% right. The song was 100% right. And then the video was 100% right. You know, and the video was Britney's idea.
Yeah.
You know, she came to us and we had an idea for the video. She didn't like it. And we said, you know, do you have an idea then? And she said, yeah, I want it to be the video of me leaving school to be a pop star. And that's exactly what it was. You know, she was in school, leaving school, and then becomes a pop star. And so the video was 100% right. And so when you get everything like that right, I mean, you know, it's the biggest selling single in the first week from any artist ever.
Yeah.
You know, it's the of all the hit records in the UK over 60, 70 years, it's the number, I think it's number 32 or something as the biggest selling record.
Really?
And Tragedy is number 37. So they were, of all the singles ever released in the UK, to have the number 32 and number 37 or whatever it is.
That's
you know, at least I've got a couple, eh?
you got a couple in the top 40. That's
I've got a couple in there of all time, you know. So you know,
that's
nobody forgets those records.
No, and it's one of those things that sort of, as you say, the record stays with people like for years and years and years. Like people's first song, and they remember where they were when they heard particular songs, and that sort of thing. That's.
I mean, I stopped doing a lot of interviews a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, because I said, Susan, do you know what? I'm so sick of it now. Every time I go, every radio station, I sit, put me bum in the chair of the radio station, and the first thing they say is, tell me about Baby One More Time. You know, I mean, all these hit records, you know, just do me a favour, pick me another one. I mean, you pick loads of other ones. You know? But it's the other ones that really I find entertaining.
Yeah.
You know, because they're things I haven't thought about for a long time.
But here's one for you. Obviously with the connection to Walsall, the joy and the pain. Which ones did you really think were going to do well, and they just didn't at all? I suppose there's a lot of those, isn't there? Or you try to forget them.
Well, that's it really. There's a lot of them that you kind of think they're going to work and they don't. I mean, just to turn it round just a little bit to tell you one. So, do you remember the Rednecks?
Cotton Eye Joe.
Ah, there you go. See. So anyway, a guy in Holland signs the Rednecks, working for Jive, but he's in Holland. Good mate of mine, you know. And he comes to me and he says, he comes up, flies into England, and he brings the Rednecks Cotton Eye Joe, and he plays it to me, and he goes, "It's massive." And I went, "Yes, massive, but I'm not sure I want to do that." And he goes, "No, it's massive." And I said, "Well, I'm not going to put it out in England until you make it big in Holland, Sweden, Germany, all that kind of stuff, because for me to put that record out, I'm going to get a lot of stick. You know, it's not one that I particularly want to do." So anyway, they went out. It came massive in Germany, massive in Sweden, massive in Holland. He was on the phone. "I did it. It's your turn." And I went, "Yeah, I promised." You know, I said I'd do it. And of course, put that record out. Boom, it goes to number one. And it's massive. And then the next thing is, I mean, it's ripping off country, isn't it? That's what the record is. It's ripping off country. And I've always loved America and the music that comes from America and all that kind of stuff. And the American company phones me up and says, we want to put out Rednecks. I'm going, no. You know, I don't want to be responsible for taking the mickey out of country music. You know, I'll never be able to go to Nashville again in my life. But they were so determined, and they got a hit with it. I mean, it wasn't like a number one record, but they play it at all the American football games now.
Okay,
yeah, and so they're still playing it, and they like it, and it's a rip-off of, you know.
It's a bit of a line dancing one as well, isn't it? I think.
Well, it is, yeah. I mean, so that one, initially, I didn't think that was ever going to be a hit, and it went worldwide. So it goes to show, what do I know?
Well, that's it. We can't get it right all the time.
No, exactly. No, exactly.
Steve, this has been fantastic.
Oh, brilliant.
Just touching back on Walsall.
Yeah.
You used to write a column for the programme, didn't you?
Oh, I did.
How long was that you doing that for?
I think 2 seasons.
2 seasons.
Yeah.
And
that was part of, because people were asking me to write the book, I thought, if I write for the programme and I get a decent reaction, it kind of means either I know something about it or people like reading it. And I got a very good reaction, and it got me going on the writing.
And then you did the Going Down the Wednesbury Road.
That was after the autobiography. I then did. Then I did that one after, because by that point I'd enjoyed the writing process. There was something about being enclosed and just in your own mind and writing. You know, I enjoyed the process, and then suddenly decided one day, well, there's only 2 things I know about: music and football. And so if I've done the music book, I can only do one more. I'll do the football book.
That's it. So Walsall this season, are they going to be able to turn it round and get back on winning ways, you think? Or do you think we're heading for more pain?
No, I'm with Matt Sadler, one game at a time. And I'm going into the Gillingham game tonight thinking we're going to win. And if we win that one, then we'll be going into the Chesterfield game with a lot of confidence and a lot of determination, and probably have a chance of winning that one. And then I think
more than away then after that.
Yeah, and that if we can win tonight, which I do expect us to do, actually, I think the last 3 or 4 games will disappear into the past very quickly. I think we've got enough to get promotion this year. I definitely think we've got enough.
I think tonight is definitely a critical point. I think.
Oh yeah, I'm glad I'm going to be there.
It's definitely a critical point. Every team that's got promoted has a blip. Like Stockport completely fell apart and then got it back together.
You can't go through a whole season winning like we were. You can't.
I think when people started releasing videos saying Walsall are unbeatable and breaking down the Walsall tactics and that sort of stuff, I thought, hang on, this is not great. And then people saying,
we know it's rubbish.
People are talking about sort of, we need to make sure we got this sorted for League One and that sort of stuff. Hang on. Hang on. It's only halfway through the season.
Not even thinking about League One. Just, can we win tonight? And if we can do that, I can just about see Saturday.
Yeah, well, historically, Walsall have yo-yoed, haven't they? They've sort of had a good first half and a bad second half, or a bad first half and a good second half. And it's just been able to maintain it for a whole season to get back to League One.
I think they'll be firing tonight.
Yeah.
I think they'll be after it tonight. I think we'll see energy tonight, and they will know more than we do that the Gillingham game is pretty critical at this point.
We had, looking at Gillingham, against Barrow on Saturday, it was 60 minutes before Barrow got the breakthrough. So I think we'll have to be patient. But I think first goal is
that manager
key in a lot of games.
That manager that they've
John
got,
Coleman,
I mean, he's no fool.
Well, I saw his post-match interview, and he ripped him apart. No passion, no desire.
Yeah, I read a thing that said the Gillingham chairman was embarrassed. So, they're all going to have had a rocket.
Yeah.
So, it's not going to be easy.
He's told them no more days off. No more days off, he says.
Well, he's firing them up.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, he's either going to fire him up or pay him off even more, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, I'm just hoping that, we get one relatively early. Yeah. If we could get one relatively early, like...
I think around about 40 minutes would do, mate.
Well...
Go in 1-0 up. And
I was looking for 15 minutes. 1-0 up, calm it down, boys.
I don't know, scoring too early. But I think if we were to get a goal around about 30-35 minutes, that kind of time, then there's a bit of a drop from Gillingham. Because Gillingham are on a bad run. If they go behind, then heads drop a little bit, and that's natural that would happen with how bad a run they've been on. But equally,
I think we're twitching a bit over tonight.
We are twitching a lot, really. We're twitching a lot. The thing is, if we don't win tonight, there's massive pressure against Chesterfield.
There is no don't win tonight. We're winning tonight.
We're winning tonight. Okay.
We're winning tonight. I can't go into this in any other way but full positivity.
Full positivity.
I'm backing up Matt Sadler. I'm only thinking about this game going forward, and I know we're a good team.
That's it. We're just going to one game at a time. Matt Sadler is composed, isn't he? And that's a good thing.
I like him a lot. Even last season, when at the start of the season, it looked like we weren't doing too well, and then we went on that run, and then it collapsed a bit at the end of the season. But at the start of the season, when they were all, having a go at him, and we've gone for Matt Sadler, the cheap option, and all that kind of stuff. I actually thought. You could see he was setting the team up. It wasn't quite working yet, but he's a coach. He needs to work with them for some time to get them. And I mean, the job he's done is just fantastic.
For me, I was sort of on the fence for a long time, and I was just falling off the fence, and then they had the good run. But we can see now how well he works the team ethic. And it's the team. Yeah. And it's not just the first team, it's the whole squad, the whole management, and the fan base, and the whole board. Everybody's together. And that's massive.
Well, I thought it was good. I mean, Richard O'Kelly's a good friend of mine. Yeah. And when Matt got hold of Richard to bring him in, just so he's got a sounding board and everything. Yeah. Because
he's very smart, Richard is.
Richard's a good coach. There's no two ways about it. And Richard can spot a footballer. I think the move last season of McKenty into midfield was a combination of Richard and Matt.
Yeah.
And they've and also I tell you what was all Matt moving Taylor Allen to
left-sided centre half. Yeah.
Left-sided. That was all Matt Sadler. He saw that and thought that he could do a job there and trained him to do it. And you've got to be applauding that one.
Yeah. I had a great the chat I had with Graham Deakin, who's he's the agent for Taylor Allen.
Oh right.
And that interview's worth looking at. He talks about men's mental health. So that was and what he's got with the health hub that he sort of arranged with that. But part of the conversation in that interview, the later part of that interview, we talked about what had gone on with Taylor Allen. And under the previous manager, he'd been frozen out.
Yeah.
And Graham had that conversation with Taylor Allen, saying, just keep your head down, just keep doing what you got to do, and that sort of stuff. And Matt Sadler saw that. So then, at the end of that season, when Matt Sadler took over, everybody was surprised that Taylor Allen got a contract. I was, because we thought he was finished.
Yeah.
But Matt Sadler had seen the commitment and the dedication to his art,
to his profession.
And he rewarded him with a contract for that. But then, obviously, what's happened with Taylor Allen since, his value has rocketed, because there ain't many good left-sided centre halves.
Oh no, and he looks like he's never in trouble.
No. He's had a couple of dodgy games recently.
Yeah, but you know, for me, you know, he looks like he's in control of everything he's doing, and he's critically important because he's the one that's bringing the ball out. Yeah. And that cross-field ball to the right wing.
Yeah, that's good.
It's a beauty.
That's an excellent ability there. Yeah. Over to Conor Barrett.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm a fan of Matt Sadler, that's for sure, and. You know, I like managers that are on the touchline and they're not screaming and shouting. Yeah. You know, like Dean Smith. You know, they're on the touchline, and because I used to sit in the stand and the away managers used to come and the ball kicks off, game kicks off, and they're screaming and yelling and shit. I'm thinking, what have you been doing all week? Yeah. You know, you have to set your team up. You should have spoke to them. They know exactly what they're doing. I'm all for tweaking. Yeah. You know, during the game, tweak it here, there, and everywhere, and bring players on and do all of that. But screaming and shouting after 30 seconds, what's that?
Flynn was a bit like that, wasn't he? A bit too emotional.
Yeah, and Darryl Clark.
Darryl Clark as well.
You know, I mean, they're old school, you know, tough Division 2 managers, I suppose. Yeah. Even though Darryl's gone on and he's a bit higher up now, but. You know, they didn't craft a side like Matt Sadler has. Matt Sadler stopped the way we were playing when we're going to play like this, and then started to find the players to fit his system. Yeah. Brilliant.
All
Still
good.
Not easy to do, but brilliant.
All good.
And we're winning tonight.
Right then. Steve, been great chatting to you.
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Up the Sadlers.
Walsall Fan TV, Budding Author Podcast, the joy and the pain, and all that. Thanks for watching. Cheers.
See you.
That was perfect.